Welcome back to another episode of NRL by Jellyman here on Wednesday, May the 24th, reviewing round 12, bit of Origin chat as well, looking through the team list and then also previewing round 13, obviously a shorter round with the Origin in play, but jumping straight into it, I guess last week, looking straight into it, the Panthers defeating the Broncos 15-4. 3 disallowed tries to 2 disallowed tries, so it should have been a bit higher of a score, but all those disallowed tries were definitely there. The Panthers just defended their arse off, per se. They just did what they had to do, got to their kicks as they did. It was just a battle of the bigs. Penrith surprisingly didn't swing it out wide as often as we would have liked / we needed, but it was more of just a straight to the middle from both sides. Reece Walsh almost turned the game on its head a few times. The Penrith getting a comfortable win there up in Brisbane at Suncorp, 15-4. Moving to Friday night's games, St. George win it on the buzzer versus the Roosters, 24-22. The Roosters really had no right to be in this one early on anyway. So for them to get back in the game, take the lead, and then have the lead taken back off them, the rugby league guys are probably doing St. George a favour. Obviously, interim coach Carr gets his first win in his first game, but the Roosters don't look anywhere near where they need to be. St. George just showed fight, showed grip, and were able to keep in the game and win it there. But nothing too much else to touch on in that one. The other game of the evening, South Sydney versus Parramatta. Parramatta winning 36-16 at Allianz Stadium. South have been up for a while, so this game was potentially coming, much like another game of the weekend, which we'll touch on, but Parramatta were just too good. They did need a win against a quality opposition. It means they've beaten South Sydney and they've beaten Penrith this season, and for a team that's whereabouts on the ladder at the moment, for a team that is 13th on the ladder, just ahead of the North Queensland Cowboys, who we'll touch on later, they've obviously beaten some good teams and they are a good squad when they want to show up. So it'd be interesting to see what they can do through these Origin periods as well, especially with not losing a lot of players, with a lot of their players either being obviously Kiwi or Moses behind a few people, etc., etc. Saturday's games with the Sharkies hosting the Knights down in Coffs Harbour. The Sharks win 26-6. Ponga scores for Newcastle, but it was Kennedy, Mulatalo, Tracy and Hunt all scoring for the Sharks. It was all one-way traffic in this one. Newcastle didn't look about it. That's all we really have to touch on. The next game, the Tigers beating the Cowboys 66-18. Watching the highlights of this one was surprising, yet just everything opened up for the Tigers. They all of a sudden had these offensive plays, which was just clicking. And it really did show, obviously, on the scoreboard, but secondly, then just scoring constantly. I mean, 11 tries to 3 tries. A cool little stat in this one was there were 4 conversion kickers. So Wake and Brooks, Coruscant and Holmes. I think that's the first time that's been done in a very long time. So a surprising one there. But the Tigers, I mean, they score like this and they keep performances like this. Who knows? They could play top 8 footy. The Cowboys, not too much else to touch on with them. They also lose players throughout the Origin period. So it could be a rough ride for them continually, just when we thought they had turned a corner. The Dolphins versus Storm. The Dolphins shot themselves in the foot in this one, just with sin bins. Kafusi straight out of the game within the first minute, understanding what he was trying to do. But obviously the Storm win 24-16. The Dolphins made a late run, but the Storm were already out by too much. Warwick, Munster, Katoa, Smith all score. Asako a double, and Nicarima also scored for the Dolphins as well, but not too much else to cover off on there. The Bulldogs versus the Titans. The Bulldogs winning 20-18 in the second half comeback. The Titans once again up at halftime and losing. Obviously, Fafita, Stimson, Sammy scored. Avarillo, Adokar, Karaz and Ockenbaugh all scored for the Bulldogs. Ockenbaugh in that forward position looks really good at the moment as well. Last game for the weekend was the Raiders versus Eagles. Much like the South Sydney Rabbitohs, the Canberra Raiders had been up for a while, winning quite a few games in a row, and Manly needed a win. Turbo looked back to his best. Parker, Garrick, Schuster, Saab and Conant all scoring. Whitehead and Mariota also scoring for the Raiders, but it was all the Seagulls' way in this one. Looking at the NRL ladder, so Obviously, good to look at while there are a couple of teams on buys. So Panthers in first, they're just cruising along. Obviously, lose a few Origin players through this period. South Sydney, similar boat, but obviously having Damien Cook and Campbell Graham be available boost their odds of obviously winning throughout this period. The Sharkies in third, they only lose Hines, and potentially Jaden Brayley as well, but they should be fine as well. The Broncos sitting in fourth, they travel over to New Zealand. I'll be interested to see how they go. The Storm fifth, Dolphins sixth, Warriors seventh, and the Raiders eighth. The Storm only lose a couple to Origin. The Dolphins lose a couple. The Warriors lose none. The Raiders only lose one or two. The Seagulls in ninth. It'll be interesting to see how they come out of this. Titans lose a couple. The Roosters obviously lose a couple. The Knights pretty much stay near full strength, apart from Brazil. Eagles, Cowboys, Bulldogs, Tigers, and Dragons. After this Origin period, we'll do a bit more of a review on each team by team. But quickly going into the Origin teams. So having a look at the Maroons. So obviously number one, Reece Walsh instead of Kalen Ponga. On the wings there, Cobbo and Tuolangi. Holmes and Tabio Fido in the centres. Obviously quite a young backline there. Munster, DCE in the halves. Flegler and Collins and in at prop. Hunt as the 9. Gilbert, Fafita, Carrigan round at 11, 12 and 13. And on the bench, Grant, Fasul Malawi, Cotter and Arrow with Dearden the 18 and Welsh also in the 19. For the Blues, Tedesco number 1, To'o and Addo Carr comes back into the side. Trebojevic and Mitchell in the centres there. Luai Cleary, Pangai Jr. in the 8 along with Huss. Coruscant at number 9, Frizzell, Young and Yo 11, 12, 13. And on the bench, Borlo, Murray, Martin and Hines with Stephen Crichton being the 18th man. And the 19th man, Utu Kamanu and also Blake Brayley at number 20 as well. Obviously more to come on that one probably next week. Jumping into the round 13 preview, as mentioned, only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games this weekend. So looking at Thursday night, Dolphins versus St. George. Dolphins 150, St. George 260. The Dolphins coming off a loss. Dragons obviously coming off a win. Outs for the Dolphins, Kafusi, Tabofido and Gilbert. And then outs for the Dragons, Ben Hunt, Laurie and Sewer. Ins, it looks like Nick Ream is a fullback. In at 5/8 will be Milford. So Milford comes back in there. Isaiah Katoa stays where he is. Herman Sasa comes into prop, or he stays in prop. Lemmy Limu comes to the 12. Ray Stone into number 13. On the bench, Mason Teague and Taware also there, as well as Nichols. For the Dragons, Tyrell Sloan, fullback, that's usual. In at number 6 and 7 is Amon and Sullivan. So obviously Sullivan's team there. Into the Molo brothers, so Francis and Michael. Murdoch Masilla into number 12, and on the bench, Couchman, Jaden Hunt, and Josh Kerr as well. This one, the Dolphins obviously defeated the Raiders 20-14 in their only clash at KO Stadium. So this one obviously being at KO Stadium in Redcliffe. The Dragons have won only one of their last 20 games played outside of New South Wales, and Jermaine Osako will make his 100th NRL appearance. So a couple of good stats there. We like the Dolphins in this one, just having the stronger lineup, knowing what they're doing. But it'll be exciting to play. I'll see the Dragons play with Sullivan and Moan running the squad along with Sloan as well. Expect some points in this one. Both teams to score 20 is probably a good bet as well. Friday's games, got the Eels versus the North Queensland Cowboys. Outs for the Eels, Davey, Arthur, Paulo and Madison. Ins, which I'll have to go through, will be Joe Offahen Gowie in at prop there. Dory in at number 12. Hopgood stays put. In on the benches, Mariota, and everything else pretty much stays the same for the Eels. For the Cowboys, obviously outs Tuolangi, Cotter, Dearden and Holmes. Ins come Labor, who's a junior, as well as on the wing, Robert Derby. In at number 6 is Ben Hampton. In and the props, Granville, Lukey, Luciano Lelua, Hess, Robson and McLean there. And in on the bench will be Neem, Tamua Brown, Kazeski and Foyeki. Sorry, can't pronounce that correctly. A couple of stats. This one, Mike Acevo is the NRL's top try scorer with 14. He is currently at 81 in 95 games. He's also scored 5 tries in 3 games against the Cowboys. The Cowboys are conceding 25 points per game compared to 12 points per game last season at the same stage. The Eels have won 3 of their last 4 against the Cowboys. The Cowboys' only visit to CommBank resulted in a 42-4 loss in 2020. And Cowboys winger Felt has scored 11 tries his past 8 games against the Eels. And Josh Hodgson, it'll be his 150th NRL appearance as well. We like the Eels in this one. They should get a big win. We can't see the Cowboys turning much around from last week if that's what they dished up, especially against the Parramatta side that can play unreal attack at times. Saturday's game, so Saturday you've got the Warriors and the Broncos, as well as South Sydney versus Canberra. So the Warriors and Broncos games, that one's actually down in Napier. The Warriors 145, the Broncos 275. Out for the Warriors is Walker and Egan. Into the 9 will come Lussick, as well as Luke Metcalf will play his first game, I believe, for the club at 5'8". Out for the Broncos, quite a few: Carrigan, Haas, Walsh, Cobbo and Flegler. So Tristan Saylor into fullback. Into the wingers, Diane Mariner. So Reynolds is also in as well, so he's back from his HIA. Palacia at number 8 and Jensen at number 10. Also Kobe Hetherington at number 13. On the bench is Pakes, Willison, Payakura and Tapau as well. So some stats there. The Warriors have won 3 of their past 4 games in New Zealand, played outside of Auckland. The Broncos play in New Zealand for the first time since 2019. The Warriors have won 8 of their past 11 games against the Broncos in New Zealand, and more than half the Broncos squad will play their first game in NZ. And Adam Fanua-Blake has scored 4 tries in his last 5 games as well. In this one, I mean, it's hard to go away from the Warriors playing at home, also coming off the bye, so having plenty of time to prep. But the Broncos will be ready for this one. But then playing away from Suncorp over in New Zealand, don't fancy their chances. But look for them to attack through Farnworth and Staggs, and potentially Arthurs to score as well. South Sydney versus Canberra. So obviously outs for South Sydney include Murray, Arrow and Mitchell. So in at fullback comes Blake Taff. The rest of the backs remain the same. Cook is obviously staying put. Saleh into prop. Host, Knight and Cheekham there. On the bench, Cartwright, Duncan, Shaq Mitchell and Saluka Fafita. The Raiders outs for them, Whitehead, Young and Schiller. Ins come Wolford in at 9. Solo at number 10. Corey Harawira, also number 11. Horsburgh and Tarpany make out there. Starling, Gula, Kotrick and Mariota. This one's 50-50. Obviously, the South love playing at a core stadium. They've still got Walker, they've still got Elias. Yes, they do lose Mitchell at the back there, but his run meters will be cut out elsewhere. Graham and also Cook will be looking to, I guess, prove a statement that they should have been in that Origin squad. And then on the other side, the Raiders obviously losing last week to the Sea Eagles, wanting to bounce back. We'll have to look at this one a little bit more. Jared Croker will play his 299th game. Jordan Rappanas requires 1 try for 100 tries in the NRL. The Raiders have won 3 of their last 5 games against the Rabbitohs. The Rabbitohs won 4 of their last 5 games at a core. The Raiders played a core stadium for the first time since the 2019 Grand Final. Alex Johnson has scored 7 tries in 10 games against the Raiders. So quite a few good stats there. We'll have to look at a little bit of history in this one and how these teams go throughout the Origin period. But looking at this one, we do like South Sydney to bounce back from last week, especially with a few of those players that potentially should have got the call up for Origin but didn't. Sunday's games, the Knights versus the Sea Eagles. So the Sea Eagles are paying $3.25. The Knights at home $1.35. Outs for the Knights is only Frizzell. Out for the Sea Eagles, Ben Travojevic, DCE, Jake Travojevic, Tom Travojevic. All the Travojevics out. So for Newcastle, obviously Ponga potentially should have been called up. Gagai, obviously the same, wanting to bounce back from that. but they pretty much remain unchanged. Leo Thompson comes in number 10, Jack Johns number 11, Fitzgibbon and Elliott. For the Sea Eagles, their changes: Ko Weeks to fullback. In at halfback is Cooper Johns with Schuster. Paseka at number 8, Sipley number 10, Olakwatu still in, Fainu number 12, Kepi number 13. Christian Tupadotu named number 14, Lawton, Bullymore and Condon there. A few stats here: the Knights have come up with 420 tackle breaks this season, led by Miller and Marshu. The Seagulls just have 316, which is equal lowest with the Eels. So the Knights up high for tackle breaks, Seagulls down low for tackle breaks. The Knights have won 3 of their last 4 at home. The Seagulls have scored 102 points in their last 3 games against the Knights, so expect some points. Knights winger Greg Marju has scored 5 tries in his past 4 games at home. And then Olakawatu has scored in his last 3 games against the Knights. And Daniel Saifiti will make his 150th appearance. We like the Knights in a high-scoring game this one, but we're not sure if we're trusting the line. So potentially the Knights head-to-head with the total points over is something we will look at. Last but not least, round 13 best bets. So NRL stats for round 13. St. George have lost 19 of their last 20 interstate matches. North Queensland have lost their last 4 interstate matches. Each of the last 6 matches between New Zealand and Brisbane have gone unders. Each of the South's last 6 home games versus Canberra have gone overs. Newcastle has won 9 of their last 10 matches as a favourite. So combining that together, so rather than it being St. George, obviously St. George's opposition, which is the Dolphins head-to-head, then the Parramatta Eels head-to-head, the unders between New Zealand and Brisbane, so total points under, and then also the overs for South versus Canberra, and then Newcastle head-to-head, that'll get 862 as a 5-leg multi for your weekend of NRL. NRL stats for the Thursday, so Ravalawa 1+ try in 4 of his last 5 games. And the Dolphins are allowing tries to the right winger in 6 of their last 8 games. The Dragons, they've allowed 18+ points in their last 7 games. Asako 1+ try in his last 2 games versus the Dragons. So Ravalawa and Asako to score. Combine those two together, 360 as a 2-leg multi. NRL stats for the Friday. So North Queensland, they've allowed 2+ tries to the left edge in 4 of their last 5 games. Sevo has scored 2+ tries, with the Eels being their last 5 games as favourite. Felt 1+ try in 4 of his last 5 games. And Para, they've allowed tries to the right edge in their last 2 games. So 2+ tries for Sevo along with 1+ try for Felt. Combining those two together, 550 as a 2-leg multi. Saturday, the Broncos 42 points or less in their last 5 games. Arthurs 1+ try in 5 of his last 7 games. And Johnston for South Sydney has scored 7 tries in 10 games against the Raiders and also has 4 tries in his last 3 games. So the Broncos versus New Zealand under 43.5, I think it's sitting at. Arthurs 1+ try and also Johnston 1+ try, 584 for a 3-leg multi for Saturday. And last but not least, Sunday, Young 1+ try in 6 of his last 8 games. And the Seagulls have allowed tries to the right winger in 4 of their last 5 games. Ponga 1+ try in his last 2 games. Marju, he's scored 5 tries in his past 4 games at home. So Young, Ponga, Marju, all to score, 433 for a 3-leg multi for that Newcastle game. That is all for this week for your round 13 NRL action. As always, feel free to like, follow and subscribe on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that good stuff. But that is all. Good luck for your weekend ahead of Origin punting.